So every year, we like to share a guest speaker with you. Hold on. Have this up here. I have this up here for a reason. We have a very special guest speaker this year, and I'm gonna have you watch a little video to introduce her to you before I say a few words.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Stauffer, and I am a cancer survivor, and I got involved in PCFLV when they reached out asking to help our family when I was first diagnosed.
Vanessa was a happy baby. And then we really started to notice some personality changes as long as some physical changes and difficulties with her before ultimately at the age of 21 months, she was diagnosed with primitive neuroectodermal tumor, which is cancer in her brain and spine. It was not anything I was prepared for. To look at the scans and see this huge tumor in her spine was just crushing for us. And the months that followed with treatment were just so difficult.
I tried to make the most of it. I went to school and I just trying to blend in as much as possible and not really letting it affect me because I was so young, so as kids we let things bounce off of us.
When Vanessa finished her inpatient treatment, her cancer was continuing to grow. So we had some quality of life discussions and had to determine where we wanted to go from there. We wanted her to be at home. We wanted to be a family for as long as we had. Just after someone told us about the Pediatric Cancer Foundation of the Lehigh Valley, that was it for me. I was like, this is where we all need to be.
I do a lot of volunteering whenever possible. I love to come in and just help out whenever. I also am a camp counselor at Camp Smile, which is one of the most fun weeks of the summer, just to get to see the kids enjoying themselves.
Why did you want to give back to PCFLV?
Just because they gave so much to us. They made our journey easier than it could have been without them. So being able to give back and seeing the kids enjoy themselves and not have to worry about their cancer journey really was what made me want to give back the most.
All throughout Vanessa's treatment, I was just completely amazed at how well she handled everything. As long as she was feeling semi-okay, then she would flash you this big smile, and I think I would not handle everything she's been through as well as she has.
It is such a hard journey, so being able to have someone to lean on and people who know what you're going through is just, I think, really important when you're going through such tough times. You never really think like it'll happen to you, but if it does, just know that there are people who can help out. The PCFLV community and just the foundation itself, they just lift your spirits and know that it's okay and that there are people who can help you and to just not let anything bother you and just carry on with your life.
So I'd like to just tell you a little bit about the first time I met Vanessa. Tracy's afraid of what I'm going to say. Sometime around the fall of 2008, I walked into a dance class with my then 4-year-old daughter, McKenna. And after getting her settled into dance, I noticed a toddler, almost bald, with a nasogastric tube, which is a tube fed through your nose down into your stomach to provide nutrition. I distinctly remember the feeling of recognition, the knowing in my gut that this little girl had cancer. It had only been a few years since my own child finished treatment, and I knew that look all too well. And then I looked up from her sweet face and saw another look I knew all too well. The look of fatigue, worry, exhaustion, and trauma on her mother's face. In that moment, I thought she was maybe just a cranky person, but I also recognized myself in her. I was a cancer mama staring at another cancer mama. And in that moment, my heart shattered for her. That woman was my now dear friend Tracy and our fundraising manager. And that precocious, tenacious, sweet little girl was her daughter, Vanessa. Little did I know at that time that I was meeting two of my heroes. So now I would like to introduce you to Vanessa, one of those heroes. Vanessa.
Thank you, Michelle. Good evening. My name is Vanessa Stauffer, and I am a cancer survivor. My journey began when I was little. When I was just a few weeks old, my parents noticed some unusual symptoms, and they worked for months with a few doctors to try and figure out what was going on. Eventually, I started walking like a pregnant lady with my hands on my hips, and only allowed certain people to pick me up or hold me. Ultimately, when I was 20 months old, an MRI of my spine showed a 3-inch tumor in my spinal cord. As soon as my parents learned this, they started searching for a pediatric neurosurgeon. Within 3 days, I was in surgery. I had my spine cut out with scissors, and the doctors literally scooped out 98% of my tumor. 9 days later, I was released from the hospital with lots of restrictions as my spine needed to refuse back together. Next up was recovery and physical therapy. Then the pathology report came out. I officially had cancer. Disseminated primitive neuroectodermal tumor, and a subsequent MRI showed that it was also in my brain. I began a rigorous 6-round chemotherapy regimen. The first 3 rounds contained a cocktail of chemotherapy drugs. The next 3 rounds consisted of different chemo drugs followed by stem cell rescues. According to my family and the pictures that I have seen, my tiny body went through hell, but my parents told me that I had a great attitude about it and handled everything incredibly well. I lost my hair, my eyebrows, and most of my eyelashes. I had to remain in my room on the transplant unit with minimal physical activity. Each day, my mom let me pick out a necklace and a sweatshirt to wear. She said she did that so I had to control at least one thing in my life. When my treatments finally ended, I had another MRI, which showed that my cancer was continuing to grow. My parents and my doctor had a few quality of life discussions, and my parents decided to try an at-home oral chemotherapy drug. In case you do not know what a quality of life discussion is, it is a conversation about what is the best course of treatment and/or action to keep a patient pain-free and hopefully stable when their prognosis is not good. My parents wanted us to be a family again since I had spent the better part of 9 months inpatient. During those 9 months, I barely saw all 3 of my family members at the same time. My mom spent the weekdays at the hospital with me, and my dad spent the weekends. My parents made the tough decision to have my sister move in with my aunt and Nana during my treatment so she could have a semi-normal life, as she was only 3 when I was diagnosed, and they knew I was going to be inpatient more than I would be at. I know that being apart was so hard for Kira and my parents, and I'm sure it was hard for me too. As I have gotten older, I've learned that siblings are often faced with isolation and a feeling of not being as important as their cancer sibling. The first oral at-home chemo drug I tried was not effective, but the second one was. Keep in mind, I was 1 and then 2 when all of this was happening, so I do not remember any of it. After a few years, yes, I said years, my scans changed a bit, and I was switched to a different oral chemo drug. My scans never changed again. I remained on that drug for another several years, and then eventually, after 10 years of treatment, I stopped receiving chemo. I remember that day. It was December 12th, 2017. I have long life effects from my cancer, things I do not share with most people, but I never let that slow me down. In high school, I was part of the yearbook staff. I was a member of and an officer of the PCFLV team board. I took horseback riding lessons for years, and I figured out what I wanted to do with my life. I applied to Kutztown University and was accepted in their elementary education program. My dreams of becoming a second grade teacher were coming true. I even received a PCFLV scholarship, and off to Kutztown I went. This is where my first journey ended and my second journey started. Hi, my name is Vanessa, and I am currently a cancer warrior. 4 years into my first year of college, I called my mom and asked her to come pick me up because I wanted to be at home because I didn't feel good. On the drive home, the decision was made that I should go to the ER due to being constipated for the past 2 weeks. I had a CT scan done on my abdomen, which revealed blockage in my colon. Unsure whether the blockage was stool or a mass, the doctors wanted to do everything possible to try and avoid surgery. My stomach was soft, and I had little discomfort, which led the doctors to believe it was not a mass. After several days, and nothing really working, I had a colonoscopy, which determined there was a mass in my colon. Not wanting to wait until the next day for surgery, I was taken right from my colonoscopy to pre-op and then into the operating room. Once my surgery was complete, I came out with a new friend that my family and I refer to as Run with a Stoma. A stoma is where they pull your large intestine out through your stomach area, which allows you to still eat and process food, but not use your large intestine and colon. Honestly, it was pretty gross. I did not even want to look at it, let alone touch it. 2 days after having surgery, I was able to get up and sit in a chair, and also able to walk a little bit around the hallways. After 8 days in the hospital, I finally headed home. My life was very different now that I had a stoma to take care of, but with the help of an at-home nurse coming in 2 days per week, I was able to pick up and pretty quickly learn how to take care of it. After a few weeks with the nurse coming, I decided I no longer needed her, so I was confident in doing it myself. Because I was still recovering and working on rebuilding my strength, I was not able to continue at school, so I took a leave of absence. My family and I went and packed up my dorm room, which was honestly very sad. I worked so hard to get to Kutztown, and now my education was delayed. On October 2nd, I received a phone call from my surgeon letting me know that the results of my biopsy were in. I was then informed that I had stage 3 colon cancer. After I hung up the phone, I was in shock. I then looked at my mom, who was also in shock. I looked at her and said, "How hard can it be to beat this? I did it once." And then the two of us had a good cry. Once we met with the oncologist, it was determined that I would need chemotherapy. 12 rounds over 6 months, meaning 1 round to every 2 weeks. This meant I would receive a matching port scar on the other side of my chest. Being 18 meant I had to face my battle in the adult world. During treatment days, I would spend about 3 hours in the infusion center and then come home on a chemo pump for 46 hours. Luckily for me, my symptoms have been fairly minimal, consisting of sensitive to cold food and drinks, cold air, and sensitivity to touching cold items. If I did any of these things, my throat would get a weird feeling and my hands would start to tingle. My only other side effect is that I'm tired for a few days after receiving treatment. I am proud to say that I am currently finished 11 of those rounds, and on April 2nd, I will have completed my treatment. After finishing round 12, I will have scans to see if the chemotherapy regimen worked. If I did, I'll have surgery to get rid of Roma and reconnect my large intestine. My plan is to return to Kutztown in the fall. Both of my journeys have been grueling, but luckily I only remember one of them. With the amazing support of my family, my friends, and PCFLV, I have been blessed to be able to face these challenges with grace, strength, and hope. PCFLV helped not only me, but my family, to maintain some semblance of normal and even fun during this journey. The sense of community, the friends we all made, and the constant feeling of knowing we had an army of people helping to hold us up made PCFLV's presence in our life a true blessing. I wouldn't be here today without the support of my amazing family. Thank you all for being here tonight. To my parents, thank you for always being by my side. And thank you to my amazing sister, who I will always look up to. I love you all more than words can describe. Tonight, I will leave you with the words that Hannah Montana taught me as a little kid. There's always going to be another mountain. I'm always going to want to make it move. Thank you.
What if you want to be quiet?